King Cold is finally here.
He's here.
We got one!
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Dad's Expensive Hobby.
What's up?
Today we are taking a look at the Figuarts King Cold figure. I know I'm about a month and a half behind the game on this one.
Yeah, no shit.
But I don't control shipping, so let's get right into it. I have mixed feelings about this figure. Objectively, I am very torn. There are a lot of things I like about this figure, and there are some things that I can see why other people didn't like about this figure, but we'll get into all that here in a little bit. First things first, let's get him scaled up and see how tall he is.
So how tall are you?
Okay, to the top of his horns, he is exactly 9.5 inches tall, and to the top of his head, he is exactly 9 inches tall, and that would altogether make him right at exactly 24 centimeters tall. This is one big fella.
Are you a big man? Pop!
Let's stand him next to his son, Mecha Frieza. And I think that works out just about right. The scaling's always a little bit off, especially in the anime, scaling's all over the place. Sometimes Frieza only comes up to his knee, but right there to his elbow or his waist is about right for a little Mecha Frieza. And let's stand him next to the other guy that he shares a lot of screen time with in his 1 or 2 episodes he was involved in, is Super Saiyan Trunks, the boy from the future. And I think that scales just about right. Trunks might be a little bit shorter or a little bit taller. I don't know. You guys tell me down in the comments. And just because I like handling Broly, and he's another ginormous figure, let's stand him next to Broly and see how they compare. And he pretty much dwarfs even, full power Broly.
You son of a bitch.
That is just crazy how huge this figure is. But like I said, in the episodes where he was featured, his scaling was all over the place, but we already knew that. That's all I've got for scale for him. Let's move in and take a look at his accessories.
Propane and propane accessories.
Now, as far as accessories goes, this is an expensive premium Bandai figure.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
And I think his accessories are pretty darn good for what we get. We did overpay, but the accessories are really good. He comes with 2 separate head sculpts and 4 face plates in total that all look really good. He comes with a smirking face on him in the package. He also has a smiling face. These first 2 face plates go with this first head sculpt right here that comes on him in the package. And this second head sculpt is for the more expressive face plates. And this one right here is a teeth gritting face that looks really good. And he has an open mouth yelling face. He also comes with 8 really nice looking hands. He comes with 2 fist hands on him in the package. And then 2 kind of specialty hands, one with like 2 fingers sticking out and the other one kind of open with 2 fingers kind of sticking out. And he's also got like 2 kind of maybe energy blast hands or grabbing hands, and then 2 more fist hands with holes to hold that ginormous sword. 3 different pieces for his cape. Cape has 3 pieces. This plugs in at the top of his shoulders. This is the plug in when he's sitting in the throne, and then this one is if you're standing him up and posing him. And both of them have like this little hinges right here so it can flap up and down, if you can see those. And that's pretty much it for his cape. A ginormous cross arms attachment, just for a size reference. There's Super Saiyan Trunks' cross arms accessory. It's huge. And a really awesome looking oversized replica of Trunks' sword. And here's his gigantic sword. You can see it compared to Trunks' sword. Just way bigger, almost double the size. But both accessories are beautifully crafted. And I'm counting the tail as an accessory. Look at the size of that freaking thing. That's my hand, and like it's as big as my whole hand. And for what we're paying, perhaps we could have gotten a little bit more, maybe a blast effect or a flight stand, something like that. But the effects we did get are really good. And let's not forget his throne. And here's his throne. It's nice and big and kind of heavy, actually. It is a soft kind of plastic, so I don't get the dog chew vibe out of it, but I've heard it referred to as. But I think it looks really good. It's got the piece right here to kind of represent his cape, and it's got a nice matte finish all over it. I think it looks really good. All in all, I'm not complaining about his accessories. I think they're all pretty decent looking. But you can judge for yourself. Some people have complained about them. But that's really all I've got for his accessories. Let's take a look at his paint in detail.
I must paint you.
Oh, that's so...
As far as paint and detail is concerned, I personally feel like we're all in for a treat. This guy looks really, really good. Is he shiny? Yeah, and I've heard people complain about that, but I think he's supposed to. Subjectively, I feel like he's supposed to, but I can see some people's complaint. But let's start at the top and talk about what is going on with him. Let's start at the top. His horns have great detail, got those lines that we saw in the anime, and it's got a nice matte finish on it. The white of his head is nice and matte. This super high gloss green on his helmet here looks fantastic.
I like it because it's shiny.
All of his face plates, the details and paint on his face looks great, and it's nice and matte. And then we move down into, look at the musculature and definition in the neck and
Save the neck for me, Clark.
and chest and shoulders. All of his musculature of his arms and his legs look absolutely gorgeous. His cape has a nice, like, lustrous kind of matte finish to it because it's not shiny like satin. It's a matte finish on the plastic cape. The little gold buttons on his cape, they're all kind of got like a metallic finish to them. His like reddish brown armor right through here on his shoulders, the abdomen, and on his back, that's a nice matte finish. We see right here more of that high gloss blue that's on his armor right here. That looks really, really good. And this, like, the white border of his armor is kind of a satin mash somewhere in between, and a matte, excuse me, and it looks really good. And I like the change in, like, not contours, but the contrast in finishes. Like, he is just covered in different finishes, and I really like that. Like, you know, from the kind of the satin of the chest into the satin matte into the high gloss and then into the matte. Oh man, it just looks really good. This figure really comes to life in person. His little underwear is kind of a satin look to him, and then his skin, everybody's saying it's shiny, and it is a little bit, and I feel like it should be. I think his race would be, especially the way he looks, he's not exactly like Frieza, so I think his skin would look a little slimy and have a little bit of shine and glisten to it, so I have zero problem with it. Would I have loved the matte finish? Oh gosh, yes, of course.
You're goddamn right.
But I think that they made a good choice. This was a conscious decision by them. This is not a plasticky look. This is a refined finish that they went with, and it looks really good. His little wrist gauntlets, of course, the pink is nice and matte. The off-white is like a satin matte. It's not quite satin, but it's not quite matte. Looks really good. Same thing for his shin guards here. Fingernails and toenails all look really good. They're not got a glossy finish on them. My biggest complaint is his tail. There is no finish whatsoever on this. This is just straight up plastic.
We have a problem
Through here, except for the end. The end has that matte finish, and these are two different types of plastic, so I can see why maybe they didn't put a finish on that, but this is pure plastic through here, this pink part, so I'm not a big huge fan of that. But this right here, definitely matte, and it looks really, really good. Overall, this figure looks great. The finishes on it, especially the differences in finishes, I personally give a big thumbs up. I think it looks really, really good.
It's beautiful.
But it's going to come down to kind of personal preference. All the paintwork is clean, no spillover or nothing. So I think they nailed it. Could it have been matte finish? Sure, but this glossy finish, or not glossy, but kind of satiny, kind of a little bit of shine to the finish, I have zero problem with it. I think it looks great. He is absolutely going to stand out on a shelf for you.
1000%, yeah.
And his aesthetic is really, really good. That's all I've got for his paint and detail. We kind of brushed through it, but let's take a look at his articulation.
I know Kung Fu.
All right, King Cold here for a big figure is quite articulate, but he does do a couple of things that irritate me, so we'll go ahead and knock those out, and then we'll look at all the other good things that he does do. The head looks down really, really well, and it looks up really, really well, and that's in conjunction with a really nice movable neck.
Protect your goddamn neck, all right?
But there's no head tilt, and can you guess why? Because he has a freaking ball hinge in his neck.
What the fucking fuck?
I don't know why they won't just stick with a double ball peg. They keep going back and forth between ball hinges and double ball pegs, and it just makes no sense.
So it doesn't make sense.
Double ball pegs work every single time, and you know, a ball hinge is here and there, it'll actually work pretty good.
Hey, I doubt it.
But anyway, that's my biggest gripe about his articulation is actually that. Like I said, his neck moves really well. Little bit of gapping, well, not a little bit, quite a bit of gapping actually, in the front and in the back. When he leans his head forward, you do get gapping, but this is not the first figure to have that issue, particularly a big figure, and it won't be the last.
Nope.
The next is his shoulder pads, and it's just kind of a general gripe because every figure that has Saiyan armor shoulder pads has the same kind of inhibitions about them because they just inhibit movement. But his shoulders themselves are great.
They're great.
Look at that, way past 90. And they have a really awesome butterfly, if you can kind of see up in there. That works real good. Oh, and he's creaky. I have that complaint too, but I think everybody's figure's a little bit creaky. But you can throw a little lube and fix that up. His butterfly is pretty good, and if you can, his shoulders are a bit tight, so it's kind of hard to get him to move around. But look at that. He reaches, and I'm going to go ahead and pop that off there because it makes it easier. He reaches across really well. I'm impressed with his shoulders. The butterfly anyway, he reaches across really well. Look at that, you can touch his hands in front of him, no problem. 2.0 Goku and Vegeta's can't even do that. So his articulation in that department's really good. He crunches really well, no problem crunching or leaning back. He tilts, and you can twist him all the way around.
That's a twist. That's very twisty.
If you want to, if you can stand the creaky sound. Back to his arms for a second. Bicep swivel, no problem. His double jointed elbow, look at that right there. Way past 90 with huge, gigantic, Arnold Schwarzenegger biceps. Not my favorite elbow joint, but it kind of works. He has fantastic ball hinges in the wrist. Just tons of range of motion there, so I like that. And we also get a rotation in his forearm from that gauntlet, so I like that a lot too. And here's one of my more impressive, besides just his shoulders. Look at that split right there that we get. That's fantastic. 2.0 Goku and Vegeta's can't do that, so that's really impressive. He has a really good front kick. His leg goes way out to the front and holds really well. Nice tight joints. He could hold kicks, but not that we ever see him do a kick. But it can't go back, and that's because of this gigantic tail right there. But that's okay. I mean, it is a gigantic tail.
That's a huge bitch.
Bigger than all the other ones, so it really impedes that. So we can't get any kickback, but that's okay. I'm not going to cry too much because I kind of expected it. Thigh swivel works perfectly well. Double jointed knee, again, very good for huge, thick legs like that. Double jointed knee looks really good, and I actually like the knee joint. That looks good. Big old ball hinge in the ankle, which gives us affords us really nice range down. Not too much up. Just like any of the the Frieza figures, same thing. They don't come up really good. Goes down really well.
That's what she said.
And it has some really good pitch, if you can see that. So you can pretty much do whatever you want with that old joint. Look at the size of that ball hinge right there. That's really nice. I wish they did, almost all ankles like that. Maybe, of course, change the sculpt, depending on the character. But I think that works really, really well. And of course, his tail articulates. It's connected to a ball hinge in there, and then it's got two more ball hinges segmented. I don't really like the way they do tails, but I've said that before, so I'm not going to beat that horse anymore. But overall, I mean, the tail works well. It's super heavy. Makes balance a little bit difficult, but just like any Frieza race figure, you use it and you just balance the figure with it. I'm not even touching it. But that's really all I've got for his articulation. Move into my final thoughts.
Now listen to me very carefully.
Okay, my final thoughts on King Cold. All in all, this is a B- figure. If you take into account, how much he cost at around $200.
God damn!
Whether you bought him from Premium Bandai or pre-ordered from Big Bad Toy Store like I did, this is a $200 figure because you got to pay shipping and all that good stuff. They objectively, maybe they fell short on the paint as far as like the finishes for him and and no shading. The accessories are good, but are they $200 good?
Is it?
And there's other issues about him. He's kind of creaky, and his hands and stuff are a pain in the butt to change out. And his cape, I haven't really talked about that, but his cape, it's kind of a pain to change out. And some people didn't like the fact that it's fixed plastic. I don't really mind it so much, but I can see why some people would have a problem with it. Yeah, he's a B- figure. He's not the crown jewel centerpiece that he should have been. He still looks really good, and I think he's going to stand out in any display you put him in. I don't think anybody, as far as visually or like aesthetic wise, equals him.
There's a few white lies,
but he's not what he should be, and definitely not what he costs. So if you didn't pick up King Cold, I don't think you really missed out. I think down the road we're going to wind up getting a reissue of him with a lot less accessories, and he's going to cost a lot less, and they'll probably end up, you know, maybe repainting him a little bit at some point. Who knows? So yeah, honestly, I don't recommend you buy him. He's too expensive.
No, I don't got no goddamn money.
I do recommend that you check out my other videos. Check out my video on his son, Full Power Frieza. I think that's a really good video. Or check out any of my other videos. That's all I've got for King Cold. This has been Dad with Dad's Expensive Hobby, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.